that we couldn't otherwise accommodate. But there is, at least in the text, the statement is to all the people who didn't show up tonight, right, there's going to be a lien or there will be some sort of threat of legal action. And my concern is that, you know, there may be people who couldn't show up tonight or might otherwise not know that that option is genuinely available. And if we could broadly disperse something that says, look, you know, there are options. You don't need to, for example, liquidate your retirement account. You don't need to liquidate your other assets in order to pay this to avoid the lien.
You know,
I
wish we could do that. But if we were to try to communicate it that way rather than informally in this way, then this legal, then we've actually
given up the right to the money.
We
If people foreclose, and we put in writing there's a payment plan, then everyone else in the room will have to pay the assessment.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, that was not my suggestion.
Okay.
I was not suggesting that we codify.
Just call me. Just call me in the office.
My suggestion is actually that we change this from a 2, right, so 1,050, or I'm sorry, 2,050 to a 4 installment option, and to spread that out. Tell everyone.
Give me a call.
You have this option.
We've gone to court. I've gone to court twice in 2 years here, when people wouldn't return calls for about 8 months.
Now what is talking about?
Okay, well, I'm saying there's no.
You guys only raise my hand because I'm not terribly satisfied. Like, the whole idea here is not to burden you. So if we don't want to burden you, as much as we tried to do the $950 stuff and we tried to squeeze by, we did. It didn't work. We had $180,000 in unexpected expenses, including alarming breaks and various other costs. Like, I personally, I'm well aware of where the money has to go. If you guys have seen me in any of the meetings, it's always been about roofs, because that's the first thing we need to fix. $70,000 to spend, right? That's money we could have done on another roof in reality. So I would love to see some other payment options. Personally, as a board member, I just don't know how feasible it is in the time frames we have, because we have to do it. We have to do these. There's one active leak at least in one case right now, and it's not raining. Right? We have not yet hit the snowy season for that matter. And I mean, it's a matter of time, and we have to go after it.
I'm just curious as to the ramifications of the loss of interest if payments are broken out over 3 years.
It's not a significant factor because interest is always right.
well, no one pays it.
Right, we're not losing on
You got questions on this?
So let me say something about this idea. We think it's a very interesting proposal. If it's legal for us, because we have actually instituted this assessment. We've instituted it with specific language. If our lawyer says that we can invoice you twice in this year, once in September, once in March, and then again and again, then I don't see it. We are happy with that. We just need this money at this rate. But I got an email from a lawyer this morning that makes me worry that that's something that he thinks the legal context in which these assessments are considered by courts of law when someone has not paid and there's a lien on them, on their property, that might make it problematic. So I guess stay tuned. I mean, if we can do that, Lynn thinks it's a good idea. I don't see anybody here at this table who's against it.
I've got a question, and it goes back to the professional consultant. And I, like many others, would like to express gratitude for what you guys do. But you're not professional. I sit on church councils that have budgets the size of this, $1 million business we're operating. Why not have a professional running it? We're paying $250,000 to employees here. Could eliminate them, put them and outsource this to property management.
Sure, and this is exactly what the person that I spoke to earlier today, who is a property manager for many years and manages people who manage properties, so she's really an expert. And I told her how many staff we have, how big we are, and what our annual budget was, and she said you have too many people.
So what?
So,
We have too many people.
now, so it's,
Too
she
many
said we have
employees.
too many people working for us, that she thought we would probably be better off at least out, sending out, hiring someone. For example, we currently do just this kind of, we contract out our washer dryer system. And when things aren't the way we like it, we have a contract with them and we go to them and say, fix it, and they fix it. They're responsible for how that, if we had someone who was doing our grounds, we at one time looked at this and we looked at it just in terms of the sheer cost. We compared it with on-site staff, but she made the point to me, which I thought was a very good one, that when our staff doesn't do it the way we want, then you've got to talk to those two different employees, and it's a negotiation between those two and the person who's managing them, and as an HOA, we don't have much control over that. Whereas if we outsource it to somebody who runs this as a business, you just go to them and say, not happy with the way the bushes look, please trim them, or we'll be withholding our payment this year of this month, or whatever it is,
Yes.
of this season until you fix it. And generally, you get better responses. I thought that was a very good point about off-site professional services, and where that's possible, we're going to be looking into.
I've got property in California and in Florida. This doesn't, maybe true, but from coast to coast, it's 10%. That's what property management are charging.
No, that's
Seems
unit
a little
management.
bit more expensive.
No, that's a different thing. You're confusing property management where the property manager manages your tenants and manages the inside of the apartment. What we're talking about is professional management of the association, which is writing the contracts for landscaping, for roofing, for all the things.
And
Hiring vendors, it's what they,
And
it's what
one of the
managers do.
things that she said was that we can have a mixed model where we keep an on-site person who's actually, doing a certain number of people working on-site, but the oversight, the professional, is done by professionals, and they, they're the ones who negotiate. It's not the board.
Right, you don't
And
have
let
to
me
do
tell
that
you, this
anymore.
board has been doing this kind of oversight.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it personally, and it's not a good idea.
No, it's
Because
not.
I'm not available.
If I could just say a moment that the previous board a few years ago undertook that as a primary motion to look at our in-house management model versus using an agency to do it like just about everybody else does. And we considered it at great length, and the board went and got opinions from a bunch of different places, priced them, and we decided to stay in-house. It was not something that we looked at casually. That was a serious motion to go and do that, so it has been done within the last 5 years.
After this, I'd say we need to reconsider.
Let me also say, since I served on that subcommittee, we didn't have any top-flight professionals advising us. We talked to people who were in different communities and asked them how they, ones that were managed off-site and ones that were managed on-site, and we compared their experiences. So we were mostly asking end users, those who, like us, who are subject to the good or bad service. But I think we do need to reconsider this. And if
We're
we get
open to ideas
yeah,
always.
so.
Very quickly, I'm a professional individual, right? As one of the first tenants in this facility. I got a couple more history than that. But I think the issue really is, you wouldn't have the problem you have now if you didn't have a manager that was good.
Yeah, right.
Okay? I think you got a good structure. I'm not looking for the business, I don't see that particular thing. I mean, commercial firms, do a lot of groups, I understand the problem. One thing that occurs to me is have you polled your members to see who can, and assuming that you're willing, that everybody agrees that this is a reasonable revenue, who can and will pay? Because if you could say, well, some people can pay 4, and some 3, and some 2, and some 1, and again, there's some technicalities that we dealt with, you might be able to come up with the initial part you need for the first year. The other thing is I have developed a fairly large site, it was a community site, and I was able to put together with a bank, and I'm a little bit better banking times than we're dealing with right now. but I was able to put a community loan together that the bank has never done before, where a number of people signed on the line today, and we were able to raise the money to build the school. So I think there's some creative things that you can do yet, but you've got to get the first hurdle, and that is to see if you've got enough money reserved in the reservoir to be able to take care of that first year. And it seems to me that the 3 years sounds like too long. It would be nice if you get it done in a shorter time.
Well, we're actually pushing it.
Well, you might have to use 2 roofers. The question is where you can get the money. So I think there are a couple of things you can do. But first, you need to find out if there are enough people like yourself who say, I can pay the money, and somebody else can pay half of it and so forth, and get it on the schedule, if you find that that's equitable. So I do think it would be wise to look at professional management, and hopefully you won't have a continuation of the problem.
I think Sunny and then.
There is in LA an organization called Intentional Communities of Colorado. What it is an organization of peer condo owners and managers and lawyers and the whole nine yards. I suggest somebody get hold of them because they do, one of the things they do is training with case histories. What worked in this condominium association, what didn't work in that one. And unfortunately, I don't have any of the notes from that organization, and I don't.
It's called Intentional Communities?
Communities of Colorado. ICC.
Already, yes.
Hi, I'm Erin Jones, and I appreciate the volunteering, and I've been you got my attention, and I'm here, and you got all of our attention. So there is some good that's going to happen out of this, I think. I think something's going to happen. It's only can be good. But, and, I should say and instead of but, I'm one of those people who I live in 3375, I got a roof, and I also got, after the roof, the leaking. And I got the patchwork that you could come and look at my patchwork, it's pretty bad. So I paid for that. And so I have a history, my relationship to this is not one built on trust. Because I paid for something that I didn't get. And then I got harmed by it. And now I got a bill last year for the $950, I'm paying that out. And now I have another bill that when I write a check to anybody, I want to be guaranteed, I get a receipt. If I don't like this shirt, I'm going to go back to the store and I'm going to return it. If something doesn't go right for me, I want my money back. I can't do that here because we're a community. But when I write the check, I want to have a greater amount of trust. And the only thing that's going to help me do that is, one, I have to be more proactive. I think we all do. And I have to have a relationship with Dan and what we're doing here. And I'm willing to do that. I want to help Dan with the bylaws. Two is that I want to trust who is doing the reviews of the documents and the contracts and trust that. Because I'm not a professional contract person, but I can help maybe find one. And I don't want to write the check. My grandfather, if he was standing here in this room, he would say, don't buy something you don't know what you're going to get if you don't trust these people. Don't go to that store if you didn't get what you got with your money, and it's just common sense. But I'm under this binding agreement with you because of these bylaws that I have to write this check. But I'm one of those people that I don't want to write the check because I did it before and I didn't get what I wanted. In fact, I got something that's worse. So I need help with trusting this relationship. And I'm upset because I don't have the money. And I want to have the money because I care about all of our properties. I care about what we look like. I care about the investment that we've all made here. I care about how are we going to sell these properties? How are we going to make money? Are we just going down a big tube? Is it just getting worse? And I don't want it to get worse, but we all need to get involved. We all need to help these people. And but I need more trust. That's it. And I want to pay. I do. But